Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. Today, I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today our honored guest is Tricia Sanchez, zooming in from Newport. Tricia was born and raised in Santa Ana, California, where she quickly learned the value of education as a pathway to opportunity. Determined to forge her future, she earned a full tuition scholarship to the University of Southern California, where she majored in communications. To support herself, she worked as a waitress through the Federal Work-Study Program. In 1987, Tricia became the first in her family to graduate from college, a milestone that marked the beginning of a remarkable professional journey. Shortly after graduating, Tricia joined Xerox as an account executive. Her drive, discipline, and unwavering commitment to client service propelled her to become one of the top sales representatives in Southern California. By her late 20s, she had already built a strong reputation and cultivated lasting relationships within the industry. In 1994, Tricia and her husband co-founded Copier Products Group, Inc., which would later evolve into C3 Office Solutions, a certified woman and minority-owned IT and office technology company headquartered in Santa Ana. As principal, Tricia leads client and employee relations with hands-on service first approach that inspired the company's name. C3 stands for Client-Centric Consulting. Under her leadership, C3 Tech has grown into an industry leader serving more than 300 businesses across Orange County, specializing in copier repair, dark web protection, and comprehensive IT services. Tricia is equally committed to giving back. In 2012, she joined the board of directors of the Airport Minority Advisory Council, a national nonprofit dedicated to advancing the inclusion of minorities and women in aviation and aerospace. There, she helped organize AMAC's annual Business Diversity Conference, a premier industry event of the year. She has also served on the boards of Working Wardrobes, which supports individuals overcoming barriers to employment, and the Santa Ana Chamber of Commerce Community Engagement Council, where she championed business community cohesion. A proud USC alumna, Tricia remains deeply involved in her alma mater. She serves on the boards of USC Latino Alumni Association and USC Associates, and is an active member of Marshall Partners of Orange County, supporting scholarships and academic advancements for Trojans. Most recently, in April 2023, Tricia led C3 Tech in securing a landmark copier and printer contract with the County of Orange, a multi-year agreement covering over 1,000 devices across county departments. This milestone has been the result of relationship building, trust, and consistent service excellence. If you ask Tricia what she's more proud of, she won't point towards contracts. She'll tell you it's her 30-year marriage to her husband, Tony, and the loving family they've built together. Welcome, Tricia.
Wow, I sound fabulous.
Yeah.
I appreciate my staff members that put that together. But yes, those are all true facts.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Coming up in Santa Ana and getting a full ride to USC. Tell us what that felt like when you got in.
Well, it was pretty amazing. My family was, I lived with friends, parents. My junior, senior year of high school, I was essentially homeless. I lived with friends. So, but I maintained my GPA. I was ASB president. I was driven. I wanted to go to college, and I knew I needed a full ride. So my options were few, because how was I going to get there? I applied to USC and UCLA. I got a full ride, room and board at USC, so I picked them. And it turned out to be a fabulous decision. The first football game that I went to at USC, I thought this must be heaven. That white horse was walking by, was running by. We had cold beers in our hands. I had
Uh-huh.
my dorm was paid for, my cafeteria bill was paid for, and I was getting educated. It changed my life, and that's why I give so much back to the school. It was great, but it was hard work because a lot of my friends, they call it University of Spoiled Children, because there certainly were a lot of wealthy kids that were my roommates. One was the president of Northrop, the other one was the president of Ford. I couldn't compete with these kids, but so I had to work. But the best thing I did at USC was I took advantage of semesters abroad. And I'm a Latina that was raised by parents who were discriminated against for speaking Spanish in school. So they did not speak Spanish to us. So I did not grow up bilingual. But I went to Spain and I really entrenched myself in the language. And I'm pretty good at the present tense. Forget some of my past tense, but just actually getting a passport and traveling changed my life. That really did. And my scholarship worked there. So changed my life. But at the end, when I was in school, I had this dream that I was going to go to Harvard Law School. For something got in my mind that that's what I wanted to do. I was so tired of being broke and just trying to figure out how I was going to pay my rent that I said, what kind of jobs can pay me the most money the quickest? And I even missed all the recruiting at USC. I was working for a temporary agency, and I worked for the temporary agency for a while. And then I got a lead for Xerox. Working for Xerox was like working for Google or Microsoft now. That was a really tough gig to get. But I went through the interview process. Xerox Corporation was an amazing company in 1988. They really did an amazing job of taking enthusiastic, great attitude kids, because we were all kids, and training us really well on the mechanics of learning how to sell and how to understand clients' needs. I'll always be thankful to Xerox for that. And I made a career of it. Like, how many cold calls do I need to do? What's the follow-up? What does the proposal need to look like? What other questions should I be asking? I learned all of that. And I think sales sometimes gets as a career, oh, you're just a salesperson. If you can really learn how to be an excellent salesperson, you can do anything. I also recommend to all students now, you should also take an accounting class because there's the accounting basics. I had to learn when we were business owners, and I had to learn the hard way. But mix sales with finance and ambition and grit, and I think anybody can be successful. So that
now
was it.
that is awesome and very inspiring. Now, is that what you were able to do, is take your sales skills that you learned at Xerox and carry them over to your business and build the business that you currently have now?
Absolutely. What happened is my husband was working for the business for Xerox as well. He quit working, and so our income was cut in half. I had a brand new baby on the way, my daughter, who's 30 years old now. I had to keep working to support the family, but at night he was trying to build a sales team. It was called a Xerox agency at the time. It was something that they had that the corporation was trying to make business owners, where you had the license to sell their product, but you didn't actually service it. So he quit his job, took him a couple years to start building that. I would have the baby on my back at night after working my sales job all day. And, I can remember just bouncing her on the back while I'm trying to figure out the finance piece. Okay, we got to pay our rent. Now we got these sales, got to do a commission plan for these sales reps. So I did that at the same time. So having a baby, working, doing that. And I did that until I kept working at the corporation until we're like, okay, this business is going to work out for us. We we can do this. And I took the big leap. Xerox had these golden handcuffs on me. They were just begging me to stay because I got really good at it. And
Hmm.
you have these big corporate accounts, they just want to keep those relationships. But we moved on. It was the best thing we could have ever done, for my family too, because the family grew quickly. I had 3 children under 4 years old, believe it or not, and doing all this
Wow.
craziness.
So see, for somebody who is listening and has a dream to build a business, so you built the business kind of as a second job, built it up big enough so that you
Correct.
can quit your W-2 job and then just concentrate on your business.
Correct.
How
Correct.
nerve-wracking was that during that
Oh, it was
transition?
stressful. And anybody who is listening that thinking about starting a business and thinks, this is no big deal. I'll create some software and I'll be a bazillionaire. No. I will remember one night when we had committed ourselves. I can remember this like it was yesterday. It was 2001. The economy was actually good, but our business model was not good. Everybody kept stealing our salespeople. So even though the economy was good, our without the salespeople, you don't make sales. They kept getting recruited. I had a $10,000 a month lease of an office space that was half empty because I couldn't keep the employees. And we just moved to Newport Beach and really bit the bullet and bought a very expensive home here.
Hmm.
We sweat through our sheets for like a week from stress. Just how are we going to do this? And I have, at this point, 3 little kids. I have 3 babies. And I remember this very distinctly. This is really good for people to really understand about having a business. It's a lot of work. But the kids were playing. It was an older little cottage, beach cottage, and there was a very narrow staircase, and there was a little landing. And all 3 of my kids, my husband and I, were just like, fretting. This is before we even used to drink wine. We didn't have time for that. And the 3 of them were playing on the middle stairway, and they were so happy, and they were just so giddy. And I thought to my husband, we don't have to do this. This is crazy. We're all stressed out, but look at these beautiful babies that we made. They're
Yeah.
so happy. And somehow that took like a weight off of us of the stress is making us more crazy than instead of going, okay, what do we need to do? And it seems like after that day, we both talk about it. It was a turning point for us. Is like, okay, let's get this together. And then guess what hit? 9/11 right
Oh
after that.
yeah. Wow.
And then business kind of shut down. But we kind of had a change of attitude. It's like, okay, the world's not falling apart. Let's do this. And I got up every day. I had great help. I was so lucky to have a fabulous nanny that really lived with us at the time. I would get out, get dressed. We made the sales, and we ended up doing extremely well. That following, we got these bonuses the way we were paid from the corporation at the time, and we
Hmm.
got a very large unexpected bonus. And since we weren't expecting it, instead of spending it, we took all that money, we put it in a 529 plan for the kids, and
Okay.
that worked out. So, um, and since then, we just get a lot smarter about things. That if you go back to 2001, the internet barely came out in the 90s,
Right.
and we were
Right.
just a copier company at the time.
Yeah.
You can go from 2001 to 2008. The relationship that we had with this corporation really
Hmm.
soured, and that's because the large corporations, they lose sight of their clients. They're looking to the stockholders, and they start outsourcing the service.
Hmm.
So then Tony and I said, we've got to pivot. We've got to be control of the entire customer experience. Took us a while, took a breakup with that corporation, but we did it in 2010. And that's when we created the company that we're really proud of now. It's basically 2011, which
Hmm.
is C3 Tech. But there was a lot of work in between there, and a lot of learning and raising a family, but having our independence and not having to answer to a corporation really was just life-changing for us. I couldn't do it. But in between there, when we get to it, we started another business with my father. So if you want me to get to that part, because now I'm doing double entrepreneuring. In 2010, my father was partners. My father is a pretty famous guy. He's a McCarthy Foundation Award winner. He owned a bookstore. His name's Ruben Martinez. He owned a bookstore in Santa Ana. And he was also a barber. And Hudson News, everyone knows Hudson News, was looking to get into John Wayne Airport. So they asked my father if he would be a partner. But my father ran his business like a nonprofit, which is why he got the MacArthur Foundation Award for Promotion of Literacy. So he asked my husband and I, he needed funds. You needed money to get into this operation. So we became partners with him. And that has also been a second very great career for us as well. We own retail stores in Fresno and in San Diego, and now in Fresno, Orange County, and San Diego with my dad, who has since retired, but he's enjoying his retirement from that business.
That's really nice to be able to work with your father like that, hand in hand. Now, let's go back a little bit. Now, your husband and wife working together in a business, starting, and the business stress is just piling on to both of you. Now,
Yes.
so somebody who is listening, okay, the message is just because you see on social media, the cars and the money, it's not easy, right? Going into business on your own, it's not easy. It doesn't sound like it looks. It's not vacation time. It's like get down and work time, and get down and work not 8 hours a day. You're talking about 18 hours a day to get
You're in the shower and you're
right.
working. You're
Yes,
like, God, if I only had a pen, I need to write this down. That was a great idea I came up with. It
right.
doesn't stop.
Yes. But the second thing is that your husband and wife, how does that come home? Because you're home talking about all of this. How are you building and maintaining your relationship with each other under
Well,
through all that stress? Because
I would
that's something
it
to
was
talk
a lot
about
of
too.
stress. We are raising these kids. A funny story. I have a son. He's 27 years old now. At dinner one day, and our dinners consisted of very simple meals, but our dinner, he's like, "Can we stop talking about the financials? Every night I have to hear about the financials." And we all just started laughing.
Hmm.
But what my husband and I have is so much in common. I think with a lot of married couples, let's say one person stays home and takes care of the kid, the other person's a partner at a law firm. They're so busy, they end up becoming more distant in my mind because
Hmm.
they don't have anything in common.
Right.
So
Right.
we look at it as it's always been a positive, but there is something that I would recommend highly because we started this system called EOS, Entrepreneur Operating Systems, like
Hmm.
10 years ago. And we took these management tests, these personality tests.
Right.
And it was so funny when we got the results. My husband and I are the most opposite people in the world in how we make decisions. The only way we're the same is we're both people, but how we look at strategy and how we would resolve a problem, we're so opposite. But it actually makes for a great marriage and it makes for great business partners. But it would have
Hmm.
been really nice to know that 30 years ago.
Yeah.
My daughter is engaged right now, and I want her and her fiance to take this test because you are who you are. You can't change.
Right.
You
Right.
can't change who you are. You can, but you are who you are. And Danny, you're married. You are who you are. But I make decisions on intuition
Hmm.
right away. And now the company relies on my intuition. Like I'll interview somebody and I don't care if they're the perfect IT guy, if they got all the stats. If I get this feeling, we don't hire them. Disappointed. sometimes they're like, God, he was a really good guy. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And I'm almost always right. Where my husband's more methodical about the way he does things, very methodical in his thought process. Intuition would be the last thing that he would use for making a decision. But you can see how we actually end up being the perfect team. That ends up
Right,
working
right.
great.
Yeah.
So I found this out much later, and we laughed because I was like, "Oh, this explains it. Explains a lot to me. We
Right,
should have taken
right.
that test 30 years ago." But
But you
it
made it work and you flourished. You flourished not only in business but in your family life. That's
yes,
quite an accomplishment there.
yeah, we are very. Believe me, it's in anybody that's been married. It's difficult. You have your days, but there is still love. We love each other. It's
Hmm.
that's we
Hmm.
we built this beautiful family, and we are very, very blessed. But you got to fight through the hard times. I think a lot of people just give up and say, "Forget it. I'm getting a divorce. You're making me crazy. You know,
Right,
you're dumb. You're too messy, or you don't throw out the trash, or all those
right,
things."
right, 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 right.
But
But
we've
but the
also
next person is going to have a different bad quality. It's not like you're
correct.
getting away from bad qualities where none of us are perfect.
Right. Tony handles all negotiations. He's handles management of staff.
Hmm.
I handle most of the details of our lives. I mean, the property taxes get paid by me. The accountants and I work together. We've divided our duties. I do the big sales. I'm the person that will go out and do, okay, we have to trying to close this big deal at the County of Orange. I would be
Hmm.
the person doing that.
Hmm.
And he would be behind going, okay, did we get all the right pricing? Did we negotiate?
Right.
So that's why it's worked. It's not one person. And then, oh my gosh, we've hired such great team members, like-minded team members. They're just freaking. I have the best people that work for C3. I just feel so lucky. And then they
Hmm.
gravitate to each other. And then we've had some mishaps where I was like, I don't think that person fits in with the team, and they don't. And then we've
Hmm.
learned, and it costs money to hire people,
Right,
recruit
right.
them, train them, and then they don't work. So my philosophy has always been treat your people like you want to be treated, the people that work for the company, and then they will treat our clients the way we want the clients to be treated.
Right, right.
What we do is not fancy. I sell office products. We service office products. We handle your network. We make sure that if you get hit by, some ransomware, that you're protected. But we do it our IT guys would never make you feel stupid because your printer's not turned on and that's why it's not working. Always with respect. So I think we've created something pretty cool. And we've got young staff to carry it on, to keep going. The reputation's very, very high right now. The County of Orange wants us to tell everybody, call us and tell, because back to the county, they, in 25 years, had only dealt with direct manufacturers, and they had like 5 or 6 direct manufacturers. They're the biggest employer in Orange County.
Hmm.
The board of supervisors after the pandemic said, how are we going to get this economy going? We got to hire local businesses. So of course
Right,
I got right in there. Well, here, I'm a local business. They
right,
gave
right.
us
That makes sense.
they gave us all the business. And the purchasing staff now says, oh boy, we were nervous. We didn't think you could do it. We knew how small you were compared to these billion-dollar companies.
Right.
And now they say, we cannot believe how much better your service is
Wow.
then. And so we're really proud of that. I
That
wish we
is
would have been
awesome.
making TikToks during all of that transaction because it would have been hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, are any of your children involved in the business?
So my daughter Samantha just graduated from USC with her MBA, and
Congratulations.
yes, and with an MBA from USC, there's all those MBA type jobs.
Mm-hmm.
She was looking, but she said, nope, I think I want to go back to the family business. So she's been back with us for like 7 weeks and loving it. So, and I'm almost positive she's the one that set this interview up. I'm guaranteeing it. It was probably her. She did call me and remind me, and she must have sent that to you. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
and
she's
she's
on it.
lovely.
She's on it.
Yes, yes.
No, so
The
that,
next generation, because there's options when you're a business owner. It's not, you can't retire. You either sell the business, which would would ruin the business, and they would just, it would be awful.
yeah.
Or you hire young people that want to grow the business, and that's what we've chosen to do.
Now, how do you think? Okay, I think this is a good question here. When you have children and they're exposed to the family business, something you've built. Now, you want to build or teach your children to treat the business like you treat it without them thinking they're entitled. Now, you and your husband sweated it, the tears, the stress. Your children haven't felt that. And this is what created you and your husband's success. How do you transfer that over to your children to have the same attitude with the same conviction and not having to have been battle tested?
That is a very good question, and Samantha would be the experiment because before she got her MBA, she did work as a sales rep for us. She was working as a sales rep. Since she got her MBA and came back, completely different person. And I think it's maturity's number one, and then education, I would say number two, but then the complete appreciation of how hard it is to have a business. Now, all my children aren't interested. My son is a filmmaker, a painter. I gave birth to an artist. So that one, not interested. He
Mm-hmm.
has helped in the business when we need him on projects. He's not interested. My other daughter lives in New York City. She has a great job working for Microsoft. She's doing very well. She doesn't want to come.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just Samantha.
Yeah.
And she has a very high respect for the people that have been working for us for all these years. Very, very respectful of the knowledge that they have. And she's at the point where she's just a sponge, taking it all in. But
Mm-hmm.
she knows she was the oldest. She was my
Mm-hmm.
nanny. I call her my nanny when she was 16, 17, 18. She drove all the
Mm-hmm.
kids around. She took them to their dentist appointments. She had to do all that because mom was working. And I'm hoping that, it seems to be working out pretty well, Danny, so far.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's
But
uh it's tough, right? It's tough to teach your children the attitude because many parents sometimes give their children everything because they don't want their children to suffer like they did, unknowingly that that's who created who they are because of you had to fight. So maybe your children or our children don't have to fight like that, but we can teach them to take that shortcut and still be successful and have that respectful attitude.
yeah, my kids are very respectful. They respect us. They couldn't say that for a lot of children that I know when they were
Hmm.
growing
Hmm.
up. My kids ask me now, how did you do that? I said, well, I'm only 5'2", and if I would have
Hmm.
let you guys take over me, it would have not been good.
Right. I
But
had two.
they are they are all different. The three kids raised in the same family, but they're
Hmm.
all good values. Like my son, I pray for him that he's an artist and that's his passion. That's what he's
Hmm.
happy doing. He
Right.
doesn't want to come and sell IT sales. He doesn't want to do that. But what really changes a person is when you're not getting a salary, you have to pay all of your employees. You have to provide service to your clients, and you don't get a paycheck. That's when you really become a true entrepreneur. Like,
Right.
how am I going to get this done? Uh,
Right.
I've had bad times. I had a school district where the manufacturer ran out of toner for 2,500 printers. Many sleepless nights. My gut was hurting because I could not get this toner. And without the toner, school districts cannot run. And that wasn't
Right.
anything that I could be responsible for, could have known that there could have been a shortage. Those are the things that give you grit, but I don't know what makes grit. You're born with it. I didn't like the fact that I was so poor and I was struggling, and I didn't want that for my kids. I paid for all their university, paid for all their expenses. I wanted them to enjoy and really learn, and I think that they did. Just because I had to do it, I didn't want that repeated. But I want them to all make their own living now.
Right. 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 But that's so awesome, though, that you were able to help them accomplish that, and they accepted it and ran with it too. That they were able to enjoy their school time and whatnot, and not have to have the stress, and taking advantage of it, and showing you and your husband and their parents that they're being responsible and running with it and becoming successful adults.
They were not spoiled. They had credit cards for emergencies, but
Hmm.
they were not running to Cabo, buying expensive bikinis. I hear all this. I'm like, what are you teaching these kids? Paying for your
Right, right.
education.
Yeah,
I'm paying for your food. Yes, you have, this one trip you want to take, great. But they were not spoiled that way. They just
right.
weren't. And I think it makes them better.
Yeah. Oh, it makes all the difference in the world and how they become. As Tricia, as we wrap up our interview, what do the next 6 to 12 months look like for you?
I've got a big wedding in New York City.
Nice.
I have an apartment that I'm wrapping up a remodel for. I am really enjoying kind of transitioning a lot of our duties that Tony and I are doing at C3, and transferring that ownership of complete responsibility. We have a VP of operations that's been with us for 14 years, moving him into the next position. We've been working on this for a while, moving Samantha to the next space. And honestly, stepping back a little bit. I'm a little older, so
Hmm.
enjoying. I've really gotten into working out. I think that's important to work out every day. And
Right, right.
when I say work, I used to be a runner. I don't do any of that. I do 20 minutes of strength training every day. I
Hmm.
want to try Pilates. I think I'm the only woman in Newport Beach that hasn't tried Pilates. So
Probably.
it's focus on our health. And my husband has a boat. He never gets a chance to go on it. Spend some time doing that. And we are very philanthropic. So I do enjoy giving back of not just our money, but of like our experience
Hmm.
of development, fundraising, that sort of thing. That's my next
Wow.
6 months.
Wow, that is awesome. And Tricia, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your insights and your experience in life, in school,
Sure.
in business. It's been so educational, I think, to our audience. And if somebody who's listening and would want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
They can email me at Tricia, Tricia, at c3tech.com.
Well, once again, Tricia, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Danny. It was so nice to meet you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good luck with your continued podcast success and your real estate success. And thanks for having me on.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so
All right.
much, Tricia.
Bye bye. See you
Bye.
later.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.